Before we travel back to 1469, let's briefly return to 1462, when Charles the Bold was not yet Duke of Burgundy. His father Philip and Charles had reconciled after their falling out, but still had a difficult relationship. The story I'm about to tell revolves around Jean Coustain, head valet of Duke Philip. Coustain had arrived at the Duke's court as a poor man of a low-ranked Burgundian family and had worked his way up in the ranks of the ducal household. He had gathered wealth, had been knighted, and had married Isabeau de Machefoin, a member of an aristocratic family from the region of Dijon. Isabeau de Machefoin was a lady at the court of Charles's wife Isabelle de Bourbon. The two women were very close and spent a lot of time in each other's company. They even started to wear identical clothes. Charles the Bold was annoyed by what he considered an inappropriate friendship between the two women and thought Coustain's wife had a bad influence on Isabelle. He had Coustain's wife removed from the court even though she was a favorite of his father. In the beginning of 1462, Philip, Duke of Burgundy, had fallen ill, and this time he did not recover fully but remained frail and weak. Jean Coustain feared he would lose everything if Philip died and Charles became Duke, so he came up with a plan to get rid of Charles. Jean happened to know a poor squire from Burgundy named Jean de Vie. This de Vie knew a woman from Savoy who was skilled in the dark arts, and Coustain asked him if he could arrange to get rid of a certain man. And that is how the strange case begins. The squire says he can make Coustain's wish come true and provides him with poison. Coustain takes the poison back to Brussels, where he waits for a good opportunity to execute his dark plan. At that time, Charles happens to be in Brussels because of his father's ill health. At a given moment, Coustain encounters Charles alone in his garderobe. Coustain hands Charles a drink without tasting it first. He says that the Count can trust him, just like his father the Duke trusts him. Charles laughs and drinks, but nothing happens, as Coustain has not yet used poison. It's just a test to gain the trust of Charles. In the meantime, de Vie has arrived in Brussels and confronts Coustain, as he hasn't received full payment for the poison yet. Coustain makes some vague promises, but does not keep them. De Vie is furious and approaches Peter of Hagenbach, the councillor and maître d'hôtel of Charles. The squire tells Hagenbach that he knows a lot of ugly things about Coustain. Coustain is interrogated but denies everything at first. Eventually, he confesses to getting the poison, but claims he did not intend to murder Charles. Hagenbach and Tristan de Toulongion, another member of the court, force de Vie to write everything down and take his report to Charles. Charles is very upset and summons the available knights of the Order of the Golden Fleece and a few other people close to him. After a meeting, it is decided they will all go to the Duke and ask his opinion. Together with, among others, his half-brother Anthony and a few knights of the Order of the Golden Fleece, Charles heads to his father. He kneels down before the Duke and says, "My lord, you have only one son and heir, but if you do not help me, you are about to lose your son and no longer be his father." He tells his surprised father everything about de Vie's evil plans. Philip orders the Lord of Auxy to arrest Coustain the next morning. Auxy and another knight of the Golden Fleece, Philippe de Crèvecoeur, take Coustain to the castle of Rupelmonde. The next day, Charles, the Lord of the Courille, his half-brother Anthony and the Bishop of Tournai arrive in Rupelmonde to interrogate Coustain. It is Friday the 30th of July 1462. Coustain admits he got poison from de Vie, but does not believe he is about to die. In the meantime, the squire has also been taken prisoner and has been interrogated without knowing what has happened to Coustain and vice versa. Coustain, meanwhile, refuses to speak to his confessor and asks for Charles. So Charles goes to him and finds Coustain on a high tower of the castle in his shirt ready for his execution. Coustain starts to talk to Charles, and while he does so, the Count's face keeps changing color. Charles crosses himself several times. After hearing the confession, Charles and his company retreat to a chamber in the castle. There the Count watches the execution of the blindfolded Coustain through the bars of a window. What did Coustain tell Charles? Nobody knows, but it must have been terrible. Jean de Vie is also executed, despite protesting the unfairness of this, as he was the one who brought the treason to light. Later rumors arose that Coustain also poisoned the wife of Adolf of Cleves, Lord of Ravenstein. In the aftermath of the fall of the House of Coustain in 1463, a few more accomplices were arrested, including a canon from Arras. They had teamed up with an apothecary in order to bewitch the Count of Charolais. The man had made 6 wax images, 3 in the form of a man and 3 in the form of a woman. On the back and front of the images and on their heads and other places, the name of the devil, Boliet, had been written, together with the name of the one they wanted to curse and other names. The images were baptized by a Burgundian bishop. They were accused of having practiced sorcery against the heir of Burgundy. It is not clear what sort of harm they wanted to inflict upon Charles. One possibility is that they wanted him to enter some sort of lethargy from which he could not be woken. Charles also accused Jean de Bourgogne, Count of Etampes, whom he hated, and Jean de Croix of being the masterminds behind this plan. Here and there it's suggested that Coustain during his confession told Charles that the Count of Etampes, or even the King of France himself, was the real instigator of the murder plan. Duke Philip, weak because of illness and old age, let himself be convinced of the crimes of his nephew. As a result, the Count of Etampes was forced to leave Brussels in June 1463, as Charles did no longer want to have him around. He went to France, where he became an ally of French King Louis XI.